delegations, and so we're just going to move into our in-camera portion, so I'll look for a motion for that, please. Councillor O'Connor?
I move that we go in camera.
Okay. Let's vote.
Mayor Clayton in favor.
And that carries, and with that, we'll just take a minute here and move in camera. Welcome back to our Financial and Administrative Services Committee, and we'll move on to reports now, and I'll look to our service area update, and Chief Whiteway, please.
Thank you, Chair Palat. So just a couple quick updates within assessment and taxation. The summer students are finishing up inspections in Crystal Lake, and they will next be moving on to the Lakeland subdivision. Additionally, tax is working at collections on any outstanding mobile homes and BIA taxes for the downtown. Within finance, accounting staff are working on month-end close for the month of June. This is a Q2 report to committee, so council committee will see that after break in August. Procurement has 6 bids on the market. A couple of those, we have exterior window cleaning for all facilities. We have HVAC renovation at Bandage Paws building and the roof replacement for the GP Museum. So that's a few examples of what's on the market now for bidding. And procurement continues to work closely with the Grande Prairie Police Service to procure the required vehicles going forward. And finally, in IT, they're busy with network configuration and outdoor wireless installations to improve connectivity to facilities. And that does conclude my update.
Okay, thanks for that, Ms. Whiteway. Chief Whiteway, any questions? Okay. Seeing none, we'll head on to our next item on our agenda, and it's the mid-year capital requests. Anyway, coming back to Chief Whiteway to introduce that one.
Thank you, Chair Palat. Just bear with me one moment. I'll find the right page. Okay. So the recommendation today is that committee recommend council amend the 2024 capital budget as presented. As done each year, administration brings forward mid-year capital budget requests. These are done outside of the normal deliberation process. And we do require that certain criteria are met before brought forward to council. If a project was unplanned and requires immediate action, or it was planned but the estimated budget is insufficient to complete the project's been brought forward by community stakeholders, or significantly promotes one of council's area of focus. So today you have in front of you 4 projects being proposed for approval. The first project is the Campbell Cabin roof replacement. The Heritage Village Blacksmith Shop was scheduled to be reshingled in 2024. However, due to recent inspections, the corporate facility management team has determined that the Campbell Cabin is a higher priority for requiring roof repairs, and believes that the blacksmith shop roof could have some additional useful life remaining. This mid-year request is to reallocate the capital funds reserved for the blacksmith shop roof for a total of $26,000 and reallocate them to the Campbell Cabin. The Campbell Cabin is a heritage structure, and as such, cedar shingles are required. The second project for consideration is the Masquete Park signage. This project was originally approved in the 2013-2014 budget for a total of $105,000 and was for the installation of a park entrance sign at Masquete Park. Due to the age of the project, administration is looking for confirmation from council that they would like to still proceed with this. While the exact cost of the sign is still undetermined, we've been working with approximately $50,000 as a guide during the design phase. No new funding is required for this. Parks is looking to just reactivate the historical project as the funds remain to install the signage. The third project for your consideration is Fire and Dispatch Technologies. This was originally identified in 2015, but was put on hold until 2020 due to limited information and guidelines put out by the CRTC. So this project involves multiple communication and technology upgrades for the fire department and the GP 911 call center. Due to the new Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission regulations, 911 call centers must replace existing systems and upgrade their operational models to meet public expectations of new technology. The project's delay from 2015 to 2020 resulted in additional costs and fire is requesting $300,000 to be transferred from the 911 grant funding to cover these expenses. There is a significant risk if fire and dispatch technologies are not upgraded to meet current criteria. Project 4 is the Montrose Cultural Center remediation phases 2 and 3. SPA Engineering completed the phase facility remediation plan in 2023 with phase 1, boiler and ventilation relocation scheduled for completion this year. Using previously approved funds, the project manager confirmed revised schedule with the engineer and general contractor, and will be starting this phase in next month. Is phase 1, sorry. Phase 2 of the remediation project will see the MCC library electrical, lighting systems, and building envelope work completed in 2025. Estimated cost for phase 2 is $1.1 million, and it is anticipated that this phase can be completed without disruption to the library's operations. Phase 3 of the project's planned for 2026 and would include the remediation of the art gallery building envelope, ventilation system, and the Teresa Sargent Hall structural floor. Estimated cost for phase 3 is $2,245,000. This body of work will require that the art gallery close or relocate for an estimated 8 to 10 month period, with pre-planning being critical and necessary for the art gallery to book and schedule exhibits accordingly. The art gallery is currently booking exhibits for 2026 and therefore requires direction on whether the renovations will be occurring that year or not, So all 3 phases of this project are expected to remediate the facility by the end of 2026. Although there will be disruptions to the operations of both Teresa Sargent Hall and the art gallery, budget implications budget requirements are not expected at this time. The library will still require regular custodial and maintenance support, as well as security, utilities, supplies, and other general costs. So just to conclude, administration's identified 4 emergent projects requiring council direction. These have been outlined, including the required funding and potential funding sources for council consideration. Immediate approval, it will help to initiate these projects before the next budget cycle, avoiding potential disruptions and maximizing community benefit. And we do recommend that recommend council amend the 2024 capital plan. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Chief Whiteway. We'll just open up the queue here. Councillor O'Connor.
Yes, in regards to project number 1, I see that it calls for cedar shingles are required. Cedar shingles are not an insurable item anymore in a fire area. So I'm just curious. Sorry. Yeah. So I'm just curious, shouldn't we be looking at an alternative material for that cedar shingles? I know it's an historic building, but I'm just wondering from a fire concern that cedar shingles are very volatile in a fire environment.
Good to go?
Yeah,
Sorry, I don't know who the chair of this committee is. Thank you. The cedar shingles are part of the heritage designation piece, but also recommended by the consultants who originally did the assessment of all the buildings, as well as corporate facilities management. So that's why it was put in there as cedar shingles.
But they have to put in cedar shingles?
I don't know if they have to. It's just recommendations from the consultants and from facilities to align with the heritage buildings.
Is there a clay product that looked like cedar shingles that could be put in? It may cost a little bit more, but then you're protecting your building in the future. Is just my comment.
Okay, we'll look into that when we
Thank you.
move forward.
Thanks for Councillor O'Connor. Councillor Berg.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Palat. So my question is around number 3, fire and dispatch technologies, and it's more about the grant itself. Again, I could speculate on how the money gets in there and how we access it, but I'd actually like an educated and informed opinion as opposed to making one up.
Chief Lemieux.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the grant funding comes from your there's a component on your cell phone every month that's called 911 levy. That's where the funding comes from. That's what makes up the amount that we have in that grant.
And then is this for accessing it? Are we exclusively to use it and it sits there as the needs arise?
So there are some, thank you through the chair, there's some very strict rules in terms of how we use that money. That money has to be used for 911 improvements. And so this is very much fits that requirement.
Thank you.
Just to build off that, Chief Lemieux, are we able to use that if we were to build a new facility for it, or is this specifically around technology? Like, could it be used for leasehold improvements and building acquisitions for a dispatch center?
Again, there are some, Mr. Chair, there are some very strict requirements. I believe some of it could be used for facility improvement in a limited capacity.
Okay, thanks for that. I just had one question, and I'll go back to Councillor O'Connor here. I'm just looking at number 2 there, the Mascoute signage. I'm just curious, and I guess if somebody can just clarify it for me. So there was money allocated for this project previously that's sitting inside of corporate facilities, and corporate facilities is using a budget of $50,000 now to move forward. So are we asking, within this report, are we just asking for a committee to say we're okay up to $50,000 for that sign? I'm just trying to get some clarification on that, please. Chief Whiteway.
Thank you for the question, Chair Palat. So I think, yes, currently we're working with that 50,000 as a guide, but we are in design phase. My recommendation is if council would like to continue with this project, that we leave the funds allocated or at a maximum that council sees fit. If you were to decide to leave the 105,000 and it did only cost 50, the remaining funds, finance does unallocate each quarter as we update capital, so it would form part of future capital planning once it's released.
Okay. I see CEO Burke wants to get into the queue here.
So just to add to that, it's a long-standing project. The park is a huge success. Really just confirmation, though, whether a sign at 50,000 enhances the park, or if council chose not to proceed with that, we would look at reallocating that money at the future budget. So this was really just it has been approved. We haven't proceeded with it. I don't have all the history of why we haven't, but we thought it was a good check to say, does council see this as a priority, or could we look at future other uses for this money at the upcoming budget?
Got my opinion on it. I'm just going to go to Mayor Clayton first, please. Thanks,
Chair Plott. I guess a question for Chief Lemieux or Ms. Whiteway or the CAO. If council were to say, you know what, the park's working well, we don't need a sign. Is there any signage there at all right now? Because I don't recall seeing signage when you pull into the parking lot.
I'm not sure who wants to handle this one. Chief Lemieux.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm going to go off the top of my head. I don't believe there's any formal signage other than maybe right around a gazebo, but no other signage.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so yeah, and to my comments then are, I think that we have a sign shop that could produce a sign, almost wayfinding in a sense, so that when you pull into the parking lot, you know what the park is. I'm pretty confident that wouldn't cost $50,000. To me, we need a wayfinding sign, and I'd be interested in seeing a price come back for that. $50,000 on a park that's working really well seems not like an inappropriate use of funds at this time. Thanks.
I would just go back to CEO Burke.
I would just add, if council decided not to proceed with the $50,000 sign, we would look at some wayfinding signage from existing budget.
So just to ask it, because we got one report, would you like us to pull this one item out of the report, or what would be the best way to move forward on that?
Sure. Thank you, Councillor Plott. Yeah, I think if council were to pick and choose in their motion which ones are forwarded to council from committee, that would be appropriate. If it's not forwarded on to council, administration will assume and unallocate the funding and cancel the project.
Okay. So I'm just gonna. I know I've got councillors in the queue. Who's in the queue for this specifically? Councillor Berg and then Councillor Bressy, please.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Palat. So for administration, Again, much like Mayor Clayton, $50,000 to me is quite expensive. I was just kind of curious how many signs and where would they be, because I know that there's the parking lot across from Cal Tire. Anytime that I go to the park, I actually park at Center 2000 and walk under the bridge. So where are we looking for signs, and how large?
Well, the original project envisioned was a sign to the scale of the bear at Muskasippi. That was what was originally envisioned. So that's why the price tag of $50,000 or higher was allocated. If we were to look at just some wayfinding signage, I'd leave that to our parks officials to put up appropriate signage. But when we're looking at the scale, it was in line with the red bear at Muskasippi, and why we brought this forward for further discussion.
So just to clarify on that, before I go to Councillor Bressie, if we were to say we're fine with the Parks Department looking after wayside finding, we wouldn't need to allocate any funding to it? Okay, thank you. Councillor Bressie?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely inclined to, I don't know if I want to have the expense right now, but I also do want to note there's a partner in that park that's put significant investment in Tiny Hands of Hope. Are they expecting this sign, and was it part of their concept of the park?
Chief Whiteway?
Thank you, through the chair. This was, to my understanding, and from my work and involvement with that project, it was not something that they had included in theirs. And again, it was, it's about 10 years old now and had very different concepts at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I guess I'd look for somebody for business arising if there's no further questions. Or do you have further questions? Councillor Connor?
Yes, in regards to Project 3, Fire and Dispatch Technologies, seeing as we are looking at our combined 911 with our own municipal police force, I'm wondering if there isn't an overlap that isn't taken care of. If we go ahead and upgrade to from this project, I'm just curious, I think there's monies available for the new 911. It takes 2 years to set up. So I'm just curious, is that taken into consideration?
Chief Lemieux?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So regardless of whether we stick with a separate fire and police dispatch or whether we have an integrated dispatch center, which is the direction we're heading into, this would have to be done. This is to meet the CRTC's requirement to move to the NG 911, which is the next generation 911. What this upgrade will do, Mr. Chair, is it will allow people to eventually text to 911, send photos to 911, send videos to 911, which is a requirement that has to be in place, I believe, in a year or two. So we would have to do this regardless.
Okay, so it could easily be tied in with the future changes we're going to make. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Anybody looking for business arising? Councillor Bressie?
Sorry, I'll also just note that a little bit of history is about probably 5 years ago now. Our council knew that this increased cost was coming, and we successfully advocated through Alberta municipalities to increase those 911 fees to pay for this. So this is something that, thanks to the advocacy work of this council, there's money set aside for these technology upgrades coming.
Good history lesson. Thanks for that, Councillor Bressie. Anybody for business arising, please? Councillor Berg?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I would like committee to recommend to council that we amend the 2024 capital budget, pulling out project number 2, which is the sign at Masquete Park, as presented in the report.
Okay. Appreciate the motion. I'll just let our city clerk catch up on that one. We're good. She's already? Okay. So if we're good with that, any discussion or debate? Seeing none. Oh, Mayor Clayton?
Sorry, just a quick question. As we're borrowing, I'm assuming there'll be a separate borrowing bylaw motion that'll come as part of it to the next council meeting. Is that the thought?
I think in the motion it says the committee recommend council amend this, so I'm assuming this motion will come.
Yeah, but it won't go just as this. It'll come as a separate borrowing bylaw, correct?
Let me just clarify. Chief Whiteway.
Thank you through the chair. Correct, Mayor Clayton. So the order of events, it needs to be included in the capital plan before we can have the bylaw. So our hope was to bring that forward right after council break.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks for the clarification on that. Seeing no other questions or hands up, we'll go to please vote. Councillor Plott in favor. That carries. So we have no correspondence, no other business. So we'll go to our outstanding item list and back to Chief Whiteway, please.
And no changes to the outstanding items list as presented.
Okay, thanks for that. Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you. I'd like to move the outstanding items list received for information. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Seeing nobody with their hands up, please vote. Councillor Plott in favor.
Sorry, in favor.
And that carries. And with that, we will adjourn our meeting and we'll pop back in a couple meetings for minutes for our next one. Thank you.